It is lunchtime with Rachel, everybody. It is our lunchtime moment. I did actually drag some of my Christmas decorations out. Well, that's a complete and total lie. My husband dragged some of my Christmas decorations out, but it was less fun than I thought, because I was like, I could decorate, but then I wasn't sure. So I have a stocking. I guess I could put my stocking up. Let's see. Let's figure out how to put a stocking up. We'll hang it on Ireland. Will that work? There. Oh, my magnet isn't strong enough. Sad. Oh well. Oh, we'll put it over here. There. And then you can see, you can feel like my stocking is there without it. Welcome everybody to the talking about Christmas because we have to. I don't really want to. This has always been a very large ethical dilemma for me and my team because in my world, you don't get to talk about Christmas until after Thanksgiving. And so I have always struggled as a children's pastor to figure out how to do this. And so I have put on the Christmas hat while also in my head saying, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. At some point with my team, I did also be like, we're pretending to move forward in time, so it's okay. So who has, Lauren, are you there? Have you, Lauren I think is on her 4th meeting. Is that correct about Christmas? Which I have to say, if you have already had Christmas meetings, then you are beyond amazing from my view. So if you have already had Christmas meetings, congratulations. I feel sad for you. But I thought what we do today is talk about some questions basically to ask yourselves as you Christmas plan to help you sort of refine what you're doing to make it impactful. Because if you're like me and you've done Christmas 1,000 million bajillion times, then one, you begin to run out of creative ideas, and 2, you're like, okay, here comes the death march till Christmas, and we can do this. We can make it interesting and impactful and actually the spiritual moment that we really want it to be. So I'm going to give us 4 things, my mother hates that word, 4 considerations that we can have as people who are planning Christmas so that we can make it everything we want to be. So as usual, type in your questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, ponderings, wisdom, stuff that you're doing, stuff that's really important. So rather than us doing just one big brainstorm of all the things we could do at Christmas, I want us to take a couple of steps back and say, how do we plan well for this? So let us begin. Let's see, it is 1 o'clock, right? Did I go on? I'm just checking. Right, so the first thing that I think is really useful for us to do, I'll try to only write in Christmas colors, let me know if it isn't working, is the first thing that is really helpful for us to do is ask the question of this. Question number 1 is, let's move Ireland. What is the whole picture? What? Oh no, you're backwards. Well, that's not going to be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip you around. Stand by. Someone's going to have to tell me if this doesn't work. Ready? Oh, no, wait. It's going forward, so it needs to go the other way around. See my wall. And then spin slowly towards me. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Is that accurate? Can you now see me? Sorry, guys, that was totally bad planning. So the main question is, can you, let's see, I'm checking my own Facebook page to see if that's, there we go, we can see that now. All right, what is the whole picture? That? No, the other way. What is the whole picture? Because it is so easy to get stuck into looking at all of the individual things that we're supposed to do. So we have this this set of things that we normally do. So we're like, all right, what are we going to do for the carol service, the crib service, the assemblies? We have all of these things that we have already decided to do, and it's really hard to see the whole picture. And actually, every one of our churches has a completely different approach to this. And I'm going to say most of the times our leaderships and the people above us haven't thought this through in this thinking depth, but it's helpful for us to do. So just as you sort of ponder, I'd like you to ponder what tends to be your whole approach. And if you then can influence in the direction that you want to go, it's very helpful. So for instance, some churches do the one journey thing. So there's one journey. So they are looking for the carol service is going to lead into the reflective evening, which is going to lead into the Christmas Eve service, which is going to be more reflective, which is then going to lead into a celebration on Christmas. And so they have these sort of points along a journey. And so they say it's going to start with we're going to bring people from the depths of God is faithful to God is there, to God incarnated to take on our sins, to the celebration of him coming. Or sometimes they go, we're going to go on the Advent journey of sort of, we have all sinned and then God said he was coming and he is coming. And so some churches go for the I'm taking us all on a cohesive narrative journey throughout the thing. So therefore, where your services fall on the thing, often what they do is say, and children's and family stuff doesn't count in the journey. I would suggest, if you're a part of a journey church, that you fit in with the journey. That is really helpful, because if that's what the whole church is aiming towards, then you're in that thing. You can jump along. You have other churches that are on the pick-a-mix experience. So you may have, that's one. You have one. You have another one who is, I'm not even sure you can see that, the pick-a-mix, which is the, hey, everybody's different. And can you see that? Maybe you can. This is that everybody is different and not everybody wants to experience Christmas in the same way. And so what we should do? We should do like one for the introverts and one for the extroverts and one party one and one for the old people who don't want to be around young people and one multi-generational one for the people who really like coming together. And so there's a sort of approach that's like, pick the one you like and we'll put on lots of flavors for you to choose from, so that when the little brochure comes out for this is how Christmas is, then everyone goes, ooh, I think that will be my Christmas experience. Thank you very much. And so if you're in a pick-a-mix church, then you're going to be busy trying to figure out how is this different than everything else. And so then that you're not looking at replication. You're not trying to do that. You're in this pick-a-mix experience. And so you're trying to create different scenarios for people to encounter, which is okay. Very few times our leadership's going to be like, hey, you know what I really think we should do? Pick a mix. Because I don't think they think like that. But where's my black? I'm blackless, everyone. We're going to have to go. Oh, no, there it is. And then the last one that I think some people do is they go for the root one. So we want everyone to have a different route in. And so we'll start with where they are. So we have like our under fives people. So we have our under fives, and we want them to provide a route into the church and a route into Christmas. And then we have our, outreach group, and we want to provide them a route into Christmas. And we have our elderly ministry, and so we want to provide a route into that for Christmas. And so we sort of look with who we're drawing in. And how are we providing them something to do that? This is different from a pick-a-mix thing, because this is sort of what's your personality and what you like. And this is a more purposeful, this is who we have. How can we get them into the next step or closer to the center? Or how do we get them into church? How do we provide the next step for them? And so you have the root journey. And no matter where you are on this thing, it's not a scale really, but it's and you may have a vast variety of different ones on the inside, but it's just worth thinking as you're listening to your leadership's talk, as you're looking at last year and seeing what you did last year, just get a sense of what you are doing and if you actually want to be doing it that way. Because what can happen sometimes is we end up in pick-a-mix when we actually were trying to do the root journey, or we end up trying to do there's this one thematic journey, but it ends up being pick-a-mix. And so we think we're taking people on a journey, but in essence, we're not at all. Or we want to do this route in, but it means that everyone that we have a route in for ends up missing the mark, because our routes in wasn't functioning properly. And so we can have those conversations. They're actually very different conversations you end up having. And so it's really helpful as people in leadership, if we begin to think through, are we wanting to do one big thematic journey and jump on board with that? Are we doing a pick a mix? And so therefore we're going to need to be doing more events to allow everyone to have one off, and therefore we're not looking for a lot of replication. So we could do the same thing multiple times in different ways, because lazy is always good. Or are we looking for routine? So therefore our first point of our conversation needs to be, who do we have and what is their next step in? And so your conversations begin at different starting points depending on where you are. Does that make sense? Right. So you have these different things to start off with. So your first question is, see the whole. What is the whole picture? What is the whole picture? And what is our sort of general approach to this experience? Because that starts you off on an interesting conversation rather than what is our capacity and can we do the same thing as last year but better. So what is the whole picture? Is it a journey? Is it a pick a mix? Is it a root in? And there will be 1,000 million more. So, when you have that conversation, it just helps to start off with that conversation, because the second step is sort of your next step into this. So the next step in is, hold on. Stop, I'm listening to myself talk. Okay, so the next step in is number 2 is this. What is our vision clarity? What is our vision? And I know we talk about this and it's really faffy and annoying, and I know you're all rolling your eyes at me because it's like, yeah, we know what's the vision. But I think it's really important to write down your specific vision and not let yourself get away with real laziness. Because what ends up going is we just want everybody to like meet with Jesus and have a good time at Christmas, which does not help you make decisions. And to me, one of the best things we can give children and families and churches is very specific, targeted, hard-hitting, effective services or effective parties or effective anything. And it's really hard to be effective if we are not being narrow with what we're trying to achieve. And so sometimes what happens is we have these great ideas. We're like, we could do this. And then everyone goes, yes, and we could do this, and we could do this. And wouldn't it be great to add this? Then you end up with this massive boat of a Christmas thing that sort of does mediocre everything rather than one thing really targeted. And so I printed out some things that I had heard of and personally done myself in services. And I just wanted you to see how when you are narrow, you will see how this produces a very different thing. So you could say, we want to do a family carol service. But how you set a vision for it could be different. I actually typed this up because I wasn't sure if you could read it. So Scotland's going to hold this up. So if you had one that was about your community families, you're like, okay, you know what? Actually, for this service, we feel really passionate about our community families. And so for this service, we want our community families to feel like this space, the church space, is accessible and available for them just as they are. We want our community families to feel free to engage with God and the story in their own way, at their own pace. We feel like it's really important that for this service they experience laughter and authentic individual stories in church. We feel that's really crucial for this group. We want them to feel loved and taken care of, and we want them to feel empowered to help their kids have spiritual experience at home this Christmas. So that is a really specific vision. And even if we just sat here as a team and talked out, right, how do we achieve that? Already I can feel that my ideas start going and your ideas start going, because we start thinking about, okay, at their own pace, that probably isn't front-led. Feeling loved and taken care of, what initiative can we do to bless them or give them something? feeling empowered, we need to come up with some sort of follow-on. If we want them to feel free, that probably is more of a free flow zone. If we want them to feel like space is accessible, we should really allow them to go into places that they feel like they can't normally do, like at the altar, behind the altar. You often begin to get a shape in your head, because if you knew that it's part of one big journey, you know your theme. If it's pick a mix, you're like, okay, well, then we don't have to worry about matching with somebody else. If it's a route in, you can make sure it ties in with your curriculum, that you're coming in with whatever outreach clubs you do, or however it ties into Halloween. You have a thing that you can go after. Take the similar thing if you're like, okay, instead of that, what we want to do is we want... if you come up with a different vision for the same carol service, and instead you want families, you want just families of all ages, particularly, from people who have big families, because you're a place with big families, and you want them to experience a beautiful, multi-sensory, high quality, excellent sort of experience, a service that makes them wonder and reflect. You want them to walk in to something that is beyond what they can experience. Something that they just come in, they have this experience of the wonder of God through a service. You may want them to feel like it's a special, holy, reverential moment of peace at Christmas. Those things that churches can offer in such ways with their buildings, where they just walk in and you're like, wow, this is a holy place that is beautiful, and I can sense God in this space. And you want them to really understand the gospel and how it fits into the whole of the Bible, that they sort of walk away going, wow, I have had a moment of reflection. I have encountered this incredibly high quality experience that's made me reflect, and I've learned something today. Well, that's going to be a totally different service than the one that we just talked about. And what happens sometimes, we try to blend them. We want them to have like a free flow thing, but we also should have like a moment of reverentialness, and and then we could sort of give them something and it becomes vague. But this would be your pour into choirs and candles and whatever that looks like for you. They come in and they dress up for the service, and it's this feeling of honoring and putting on a massive effort that they're a part of an experience. That is totally different from an under fives one. If you're a massive church with under fives and you feel like, man, we really want to do something, particularly an under fives focused carol service, which we had done multiple times and we loved it. And we were like, we wanted them to authentically and enjoy and engage a service side by side. Because most times, if you're the parent of an under five, you spend your time going, I am enduring this and I don't like it. So it's either you endure something that's child focused and you're like, this is terrible, but my kid's liking it, or you're enjoying something and your kid is bored out of their mind. So we wanted to like authentically create a service that they could enjoy side by side for under fives, to give them the gift of genuinely liking being at church side by side with their kids. We wanted everyone to encounter God heart to heart. That was a really specific thing we wanted, so that adults and kids could experience God and know they can side by side. To be equipped to talk about God in Christmas throughout the next few weeks. So we were really aware we wanted to create a sort of foundational language and structure so that all parents, no matter where you were on the faith journey, could talk about Christmas in a way that everyone could hearken back to. And we wanted them to experience community and build relationships with each other, because being an under fives family is very loaning, not loaning. It can feel very alone. And so, are we still recording? Okay, yes. So we can do that. And that, of course, would create something very different. And so for this under five service, we ended up doing Dora the Explorer Christmas, and we made a mass. Well, I can take no credit for this because it was my team, Annie Wilmot and Josh. Was it Josh there? Was it Josh? Josh Lees and Rachel Norburn. They came up with this massive map that was bigger than this room, I think. Taller than this room, and it was a big map, and we had someone dressed up as a map, and you went through the whole service, and the kids sang songs, and we did it in a carol service structure, and we loved it. It hit everything, but it meant that we weren't trying to be anything else but that. So pick a vision and really talk about that, because it means that you know what you're headed for, and therefore when you have to make compromises, when someone else has an idea, when you're trying to achieve something, you can say, nope, that isn't going to get us where we want to go. or that absolutely will get us where we want to go, or maybe we need to rethink this vision because we actually can't achieve that. And so what do we want to be able to achieve? It enables you to pursue something wholeheartedly and really with effort, and it helps you refine it. So what is the whole picture? What is your vision? And so I'm going to leave, well, I was going to leave these up here, but pick your vision of what they could be. What's my strongest one? France, I think, is my strongest one. I'll leave it up here. All right, so the third thing is what are the hindrances? And I think this is a really significant one that we forget to talk about, because we sort of have this, well, I don't know, this could just be me, but I have a deep belief in my ability, I have a deep ability in my ability to just power this sucker through. And I sometimes don't talk about hindrances. What are my hindrances? Let's do ours, because we're teams. What are our hindrances? And what are their hindrances? And so once you're like, I know where it fits in the grand scheme of how we're trying to create our Christmas service, I know what we're trying to accomplish in this thing, we've got to first talk about what are the hindrances? What is our hindrances? Because it could be, we may want the most beautiful, awe-inspiring confetti cannon, very light, moving lights, 50,000 piece band choir, and we are a church plant in the middle of nowhere with no one who enjoys singing, and that is just not a vision that we can accomplish right now, and so that's probably not a vision we could do. And so what are the hindrances? It could be that you bail from your vision. It could be that you go, okay, it's not going to look like it looks in my head, but how can we achieve this vision in a different way? Because we can either kill ourselves trying to achieve the vision in the one way we think we can, but you can create this very private, awesome, holy moment that you want people to feel it's high quality, that it's special, that it's different. And you can create that in a variety of ways, not just the one way you think. And so it's finding the vision and sticking to it, but then talking about your hindrances and deciding whether you want to adjust your vision or whether you just need to be really creative in getting there. You know, if you're talking high quality, beautiful, reverential experience, you can do that in a wonderful church. You could rent that church and pour a lot of money into it, or you could go for a night walk where you take everybody outside and you have blankets and candles and you all lay on the ground in the freezing cold for 20 minutes and you look at the stars and you read scripture of who God is and you spot, you know, where a new one is in the sky and how the heavens declare God, and you could shape all of Christmas about the heavens and have the wonderful, holy, well done, reverential thing with one person playing the cello over you. You could create whatever you want because the vision is there. But if you know your hindrances, then you're not going to fry yourself by trying to achieve something that has too many hurdles to scoop over. So that doesn't mean bail on your vision immediately. Sometimes we need to adjust, but sometimes it just means how can I get the vision rather than becoming so focused on how we want to do it that we don't actually end up achieving anything. So what are our hindrances? Is it money? Is it buildings? Is it that we just don't have the people? Is it that actually we need to have severe conversations with our leaderships because I'm not sure they're going to want people touching the altars? Or what is it? What is the hindrances? And then what are their hindrances? Often we think about it's all about what we want to put on, but actually what are the people who we are serving? What is their needs? What is stopping them from coming? Is it, if we want to do an under fives one, is it that they just can't get out that early in the morning, or that 11 o'clock is a terrible time, or that Sunday is too big of a jump, or Is it, for the people who have just never made it into the building, that maybe the building itself is too far of a jump to go, and we need to go do it in the community center that then walks into the building like a journey. What are the hindrances that are stopping people from coming? What are the hindrances that are stopping people from engaging? Sometimes what's stopping them from engaging in a really beautiful service is that they just feel like they won't be able to read all the words, and so they need something that's more simple. So when you're sitting there and talking about what are the hindrances, it's so that we can remove all the barriers so that people can fully engage in the experience of whatever we're putting on, whether it's a assembly, whether it's whatever. So what are the hindrances? And then the last thing that I want us to look at is what is the next step? Because if you're like me, by the time we get to Christmas, we're like, I'm so tired. And we hit tired, and we're like, yay, we made it. And then we're like, wow. And then we have to think about January in a panic. And actually thinking about Christmas as part of a full journey strategy is really, really useful. And so, whether you use your Halloween stuff to jump into Christmas, so whether you have all of your Christmas stuff all ready to go, at least for what your next step is on Halloween, so people come to your light party and they already know what their Christmas next step is, so that when they come to Christmas, they have already an invitation to the first week party of the new club at school or whatever, that we're beginning to see that place as a jump in our general strategy of church. And that also means, like, for relationships, in many of the churches I've worked in, we've begun to think this is the time where we're going to get community people in for the first time sometimes. Some of the people that I'm in relationship with out there, I really wanted Christmas to become a place where they met community. And so often our church community are like, we're showing up to the Christmas stuff. Woohoo! They're going to leave the Christmas stuff. And so I sat and talked with as many church families as I could to say, look, we're going to have community families that I'm in relationship with who are desperate to be in relationship with others. Can you show up to these Christmas services ready to ask some of these community families to your home for lunch as a surprise? Hey, let's start a conversation, and you want to come to my house for lunch because we have lots of soup. And I prepped a lot of families to be like, just find somebody you don't know and invite them to lunch, so that when these people that I know and love from the community are coming in, they're coming in to find community. And they began to do that. And so it made Christmas a wonderful place of next steps, because sometimes the next step isn't the next church event. Sometimes the next step is relationship with somebody in church, or sometimes the next step is the men's pub night or the women's pub night, or whatever it is. It is about enabling a next step and thinking about how are we momentum building. And then there's what's the next step for them spiritually. They've come in, they've had this encounter. And if you want to know more about, working with people at the fringes, and we've talked about, the holiday clubs and those one-off events and how to equip people to go home, and take those skills that we've already talked about going home with stuff, and then really sort of look at how we can facilitate that. So it's really important that we enable that next step for them spiritually, and using all those skills to say, this is us as a church, but you as a parent are even more important in the lives of your kid. And we're here to help you do that. And here's all the different ways we're here to help you do that just today, much less in the future. Another thing I just wanted to flag up is there are people who often get missed at this. And often this is a conversation to bring up here. But if you're a church that regularly has baptisms of children or dedications of people who don't necessarily belong to your community but are in your parish, this is a fantastic time to rebuild those relationships. When you join a gym, I belong to a gym, and they harass me a lot with like, hey, haven't seen you this week. How you doing? Don't get discouraged. You can come anytime. Obviously, I get more of those than, gosh, you've been here a lot. Are you okay? But I join a gym and I expect them to hunt me down, and I expect them to be in relationship with me, and I expect them to notice when I'm not there. And a lot of our baptism families and dedication families and people who've come through little bits, and we see them drop off and we think, oh, I wish they would come. Call them up and say, hey, I know you got baptized here 2 years ago and we'd love to see you. This is what's on this Christmas. And to take those moments to invest in those relationships, because Christmas is a great time to pull together the church family that's wider. How are you doing? Do you have questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, wisdom, stuff that has been really important questions for you to ask yourselves, or really helpful tools and planning that has resulted in you creating some really effective stuff? Because I think there are so many brilliant ideas in so many different churches. You are doing great, great, great work. And it's really important that we, discover how we can get there, because while we can share ideas, and I definitely want us to share ideas, it's also really powerful to share these things. So type, write, do things that are important, and write them down. And I'm just going to give us like 10 seconds to look at this and to process this, and then we'll answer any questions that are out there, any comments, any things that are important. So let's have a look. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds to write. If not, hang in there. Right. Well then, was that 10 seconds? I'm really bad at always giving people I'm going to give you 4 minutes, and then I come back in after 30 seconds because I got bored. That would be my suggestion about things to ask about. As you go through, please use this group as a place to get ideas and to refine your ideas and to think about things, because it's a really significant journey that we go on as these vision casters, as these people who cut up endless amounts of things. Also, you can write up on these comments things that are excellent to binge watch while you cut out things, because I don't know about you, but Christmas is a time where I spend 10 hours at a time cutting out things in front of the television. And sometimes I need more things to watch. Think of Christmas. Ruth has an interesting comment and was saying about thinking of Christmas as the starting point for a relationship. And I think that's a really great reflection, Ruth. A really great reflection. Otherwise, I think if we don't see it as a significant part of starting a relationship or something, then it feels like we've done our job. We've done the service and we can relax. And I love that heart position of seeing it as the start of relationship. Right. So thank you very much. I love you guys. I'm going to pray for you guys, and then I'm going to take off this Christmas hat and not think about it for a while. God, I thank you for this opportunity every Christmas to do this. And God, I pray right now for pre-strength as we begin this journey. I pray that you would just pour your creativity upon everyone who's planning and thinking and dreaming, that you would just ignite hearts, that they may come together and have this vision together of what you're calling them to do. I pray that you would spark creativity, ideas. I pray that people would come out of the woodwork in their churches with skills and giftings to be able to achieve just what you're calling them to. I pray that you give them strength ahead of time. I pray that you give them wisdom to listen to what you're saying, so that as they create an experience, a offering, a starting point of relationship for Christmas, that you would just empower them to follow what you are doing. I thank you for this moment. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a wonderful Christmas planning time. We're here to support you. We're here to encourage you. We love you. And we'll see you next month. I can't remember. Oh, Forge is coming up, guys. If you want to come to the Forge, we had a moment where it was closed because we had people signing up, but it is now open again. So if you want to come to the Forge, it's happening in November. It's a great place for you to have community and relationship, hang out with me for 3 days and eat a lot of ice cream, and really refine you as a minister, as a individual, as someone who's doing that. And also we have a qualification that is coming up in June. If you want to spend 5 days in a beautiful location in Derbyshire, going on a short course and getting an official certificate of completion of learning how to be someone who supports parents and parenting for faith, and how you affect and change church culture to do that, have a look on our website and to sign up for that, because it's going to be really significant and something that can go with you from job to job to job, something that says, I can do this. And sometimes we need to be told we can do it, and sometimes it's really helped to have a piece of paper that says, this is something I'm passionate about and can do. So we love you, and we'll talk to you later. No, I'm not going to say Happy Christmas, not till after Thanksgiving, because it's important.